I'd ask everybody, to have pen and paper, take notes. You're going to see some things on the slides here. Those are just, the big broad stroke, and I'll be filling in some of the details, and you'll want to take notes. And then if you have questions along the way that pop in your mind, go ahead and write those down. And we'll catch the questions on the Q&A session toward the end. Fair enough? Okay, let's go. Strategy versus tactics. There's a lot of confusion sometimes, the difference between strategy and tactics. And the easiest way for me to explain it is to use some old colloquialisms, such as the forest and the trees. The strategy would be the big picture of seeing the forest and seeing how big it is and how it's all laid out. And then the tactics would be looking at each individual tree and how it fits into the bigger forest. Another way to look at it is strategy correlates to the chess player versus the chess pieces, which are the tactical moves that the chess player makes. Or the big picture, which is strategy, versus the details, which is tactics. Or long-term thinking rather than day-to-day activities. Or plans, which fall in the idea of strategy, versus the tactical, everyday to-do list where you check things off to get things done. So that gives you an idea of what strategy is, more of a big-picture thinking, having a master plan. And then tactics is the to-do list. It's how we get things done. Now, in everything that we do in life, family, business, spiritual, fun, physical, and all different areas of our life, we always have different strategies and tactics that we're using in each one of those to set goals, to come up with plans, to take action, to get things done. And the interesting thing to me when I talk to people about this is there's actually multiple layers of strategies and tactics, to where there will be a large lifetime, for instance, lifetime planning, a large lifetime plan, and you have a large strategy for that, and you've developed some ideas on what to do and how to reach your big lifetime goals. But you see, each one of those lifetime goals that you want will have its own strategy and also its own tactical activities to carry out. And this can go down many, many layers. So I need to get you thinking in multiple layers of strategic and tactical planning here. Big picture, to-do list. Forest, the trees. You're the chess player rather than the chess piece. Each of these will have strategies and tactics, and each will have layers of strategies and tactics in all these different areas of your life. You can take everything that we're talking about today and plug these concepts into all these different areas of your life and see improvement as you implement this into them. For each activity or desire that you have, there's a few things that you need to answer and take action on. The first is what? And I think this is maybe the most difficult thing for most people to do. They actually have to figure out, what is it that I want? We have to actually make a decision from all the opportunities that are out there, for all the things that are offered to us, for all the human desires that we have. We actually have to decide for ourselves what it is that we want. And that's going to be the very first step. There's a lot of shiny button distractions out there. There's always the latest and greatest new tool, the latest and greatest new training package. I would suggest to you that you'd be better off learning and understanding basic and enduring principles of business and marketing, and what I really stress is most important, human psychology. One thing that I always relate to people is, in internet business, I never had a computer whip out a credit card and pay me. It's always been a human on the other side of the technology that will pay me for products and services. So the lesson there, the lesson that I learned and I'll pass on to you, is that you've got to get good at communicating with humans, understanding their wants and desires and needs and their goals and their fears and their nightmares and their big frustrations. All those things go into being able to communicate and have empathy, not sympathy, but empathy, true understanding of their situation so that you can help them reach their goals, make them feel good about themselves, and avoid the pitfalls and the negative things that can happen to them. The next piece of the puzzle is why. Once you've decided what you want to happen, I'm going to suggest to you that you need to ask yourself, well, why do I want that? And truly understand your desires, your emotional needs, and what it is that has focused you on this particular this goal that you decided that you want. So you need to decide your reason why so that it keeps you going. This will be the ultimate benefit of the effort at whatever level you're working here, okay? This is the thing that's going to get you going and excited and out of bed every morning, even though profits may be very slim to none. It's also going to help you with the purpose in your life. It'll keep you focused. And I'm going to ask you also to stretch yourself to think and dream bigger. This is another problem that people have. They get, in what we call the comfort zone. And they may not be comfortable in doing that. Or maybe they've gone through life where people say, oh, you can't do that. Or you may have relatives that say, oh, you can't do that. You big dreamer, you. And they're negative. Well, you need to get away from that kind of a situation to where you can think and dream bigger. And I would ask you to kind of go back to your childhood where you could just imagine and let yourself go. If you could just imagine and create like you were when you were a kid with no limitations, what kind of big reasons why would you get involved with? What kind of dreams and goals would you set for yourself if you really, really had no limitations? And that's where we need to have you. I'm going to give you a URL address to go to, a website to go to. I did a presentation a while back on the big reason why, and it's located at ultimate-success-program.com/big reason why. All small letters. I'll repeat that for you. ultimate-success-program.com/big reason why. And it's maybe 25, 30 minutes long, something like that. And I think you'll pick up a lot of good ideas on this concept of reason why, and especially in that presentation, it's a video presentation, your big reasons why, which are so important. And there's some really interesting life lessons that I've learned along the way that I share in that video. So don't do it now, but later on, be sure to watch that. Okay, how is another important question. We want to create the steps you will take to accomplish your desired outcome. This is how we're going to accomplish it. Now, at this point, we're getting into tactical steps. Sometimes, though, you don't know the steps. Have you ever felt like that? I felt that way many, many times during my lifetime. I wanted to do something, but I didn't know how to do it. And one of the things that you can do is watch other people. I learned early that was a great way to learn how to do things, is to watch other people who already could do it. Therefore, I just watched them very, very closely and watched the steps they take and broke down their actions into steps so that I could do that. A concept that I just thought of a week or so ago in a conversation with somebody. I was talking about just imagine a second ago, like when you were a kid. that falls in line with something that we used to play as kids called make-believe. Remember doing that? Now, I'd actually like you to look at those two words real carefully. Make-believe. Okay, the word make is creative. And believe, if you believe in something, you've got your whole heart and soul into it, don't you? So when we played make-believe as a child, we created a belief of a reality. Now, if you will put that in your mind and spin that around a little bit, I think you will find that that's quite magical. And, of course, when you're a child, it was quite magical. So get good at playing make-believe and believe. So create your own belief. Create your own reality. Create your own life. Make-believe. Another important point is to set your goals out in front of you. And when we're trying to come up with the steps, we don't necessarily know the steps. We might be able to see a pattern or a recipe that somebody's given us. But the thing you will want to do is, instead of trying to figure out how to get from where I am to where I want to be, I'd like you to think about where you want to be backwards to where I am. Now, there's an interesting thing, if you've ever played golf, either good or bad, that when you're on the tee looking toward the green and the hole, it looks so far away. But the interesting thing one of the things I learned from golf is that once you hit that ball and you walk or ride in a cart all the way up to that green, if you turn around and look back to the tee, it doesn't look long at all. It looks like about half the distance. And I could never figure out why that is. Next time you're out someplace, and you could probably do this just on a walk, come to think of it, where you're at right now, and then pick a spot that you're going to walk to a few hundred yards away. And traverse that distance, and then once you get there, turn back around and look where you came from. And I am going to guess that this is some kind of an experiential thing of covering a distance that once you've covered the distance, when you look back, it doesn't look as far for some reason. And I just think that's fascinating. It's a great lesson to know. And if you think about it, all the things that you've gotten in your life at this point, look back to the day that you started that. Once you get there, it doesn't look hard at all because you learned and you took steps along the way and you made adjustments and you got to where you wanted to be. You didn't give up and you got there. And then when you look back, it was like, well, that wasn't that hard. But it's because you did a little bit at a time. So we want to look out to where we want to end up and work our baby steps backwards to where we are. And sometimes you just have to make believe. You just have to use your imagination, and you create the baby steps to the best of your ability from what you can see around you. And then the magic is, once you've got those baby steps in front of you, and try to break them down to where you think that, yeah, if I did that, I could probably do the next step and the next step. Once you've got that planned out, take the very first step. You don't worry about all the other steps in front of you. You just take one step. And then you take that one step, and if it worked out and you're still standing and life is still pretty good, congratulate yourself. Figure out what you learned from that, and then look at the next step. See, once you have all the baby steps all the way to the goal, keep the goal in mind, but instead now focus on just itty-bitty steps, one step, just one at a time, another one, another one, another one. And all of a sudden, we've reached the goal, and we look back, and my gosh, it just doesn't seem like it was that great of a distance once we get there. Another decision you're going to have to make in coming up with your tactical plan is when. And this works both on a strategic level and a tactical level, the timeline of, the long-term time, and then we're talking about, in this particular part here, the tactical of the timeline of getting things done. And you need to have some kind of idea of scheduling on how long you think it might take, and you may discover that, when you budget time, you may want to, times 2. You'll find that as you go, though, and the most important thing on this is setting the deadlines. Humans, and that means me and you, tend to procrastinate. Have you found that to be true about yourself? Unless you've disciplined yourself to do the phrase, do it now. And that was one of the big lessons I learned from W. Clement Stone in a book called Success with a Positive Mental Attitude. Many of you may have read it. If you haven't, go to the bookstore or, download it someplace or have them send it to you through one of the bookstores on the Internet. Or if you have read it, it would be a good time to go back and refresh yourself on it. So a wonderful book. And one of the chapters in there, he teaches you how to get things done. It's a 3-word phrase, do it now. Now, the only problem with it, and I wrestled with this for a long time, was I didn't feel like I could do everything now. And then I finally figured out that when a situation is presented to me or a task is needed, has to be done, if it's coming at me, I can't always do it now, but I can decide that I am going to schedule it, and hopefully I can plan when that thing is to be done, and then when the time comes for it to be done, that's when I have to commit to do it now. And no excuses at that point, because it's on the schedule, it's on the calendar, I've blocked out time, it's do it now time. So as you have things coming to you, if you can do it now in just a few seconds and get it done, I suggest you just get it done and behind you so you can move on to other stuff. If you can't do it now, then at least decide now when you are going to do it now in the future. And then when that time period comes up, do it now, do it now, do it now. And if you want to get more work done, here's the magic secret to that. You set shorter deadlines. Think about that. If you plan to have something accomplished a month from now, when are you going to get it done? Most of us will procrastinate and not get it done until a day or two, or in some cases, hours before the deadline. So you spent 4 weeks and you really got it done in 2 to 4 to 8 hours. Now that just doesn't make sense, does it? So instead of setting that goal out 4 weeks from now, I'd like you to think about setting your deadlines half of what you normally do. Now what's this going to do to you? You're going to get twice as much done. It's an interesting thing. It's a complete different mind shift, and if you will try it, I think you'll find that you're going to get more stuff done because you're setting deadlines for yourself. If you want to get more done, set shorter deadlines. Now the decision is, see, you've been thinking strategically and at a tactical level here in the topics that we've just discussed. Now we're going to decide who's going to do this stuff. And that's part of your tactical plan here. Now, I suggest to you that school really screwed you up. It screwed me up, and fortunately, I had a mother that trained me early, as I remember, to think for myself and to always be creative. Those are 2 important lessons that I learned from her. She taught me a lot, but those really played out well. And one of the things that they do in school to us is that they're always trying to improve our weaknesses. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That makes for a well-rounded person. But there are some things that you are more naturally inclined to be good at. It's just in your makeup. It's in your DNA, and for some reason you like to do it, and your brain is wired to be good at it. Okay? You like to study about that topic, you like the activity of that topic, and you're good at it, and it makes you feel good about yourself, and you got great self-esteem. Okay? Those are all the subjects that you liked in school. Remember when people would say, what's your favorite subject? And you would tell people, and you get excited about it, and what do you like about that? And you'd have a whole list of things that you were excited about that subject that's your favorite thing. And then there was the other subjects, where when the teacher talked about it and lectured in the class, you sat there and all you heard was, right? And those were the longest hours of the day in those subjects that you didn't care for. But those are the ones you got harped on the most. They always wanted you to improve on those things that you were not interested in doing, didn't like to do, weren't good at doing. Okay? Now they were doing that for so-called your own good to help lift your level of knowledge and abilities in those subjects. Okay? And that's good. The problem is that we learn that that's what we've always got to do throughout our life. And that is not a good lesson for you to have picked up. Because once you get out of school and into life, you need to be doing what you're really good at. Because what we're after here is life, not continuous improving on things that we're not good at. We want to leverage what we are good at so that we can help more people, we can have more fun, we can have more life, we can have more money, we can have more of everything that we decide that we want. So we need to think about focusing on our strengths rather than focusing on our weaknesses. So focus on your strengths, the things that you're good at, the things that you like to do, and on those things that you're not good at and those things that you just really don't like to do, you need to outsource those to people who are good at those things and like to do those things. That's a really important lesson. Now, there's some things that I can do. I am completely competent in doing them, but I really don't like doing them. Those things I need to outsource too. Okay? And you'll make a list of all the activities that you need to be doing, and you just need to make a plus or minus sign next to them. Plus sign would be you're good at it, you like to do it. Minus sign is you're not good at it or you hate to do it. And those minuses, you need to find somebody else that in their column, your minus is a plus to them. And that's what makes the world go round. That's what's so cool about it. Now, here's one tip on top of all that, though, is that if you're going to outsource to other people, you still are responsible for the quality of what they produce for you. So you are going to have to develop management skills. In other words, the stuff about strategic planning, tactical planning, deadlines, timelines, who's going to do it, what are we going to do, what are the baby steps. See, all these things, you, the business owner, you have to get good at making all these decisions of what, why, how, when, and who. I'm going to spend a little bit of time tonight on what I call the lifestyle efficiency quotient. And we have an acronym. Everybody loves an acronym. And we're going to call it the LEQ. So before I get into that, and this is something that I like to talk about a lot, and it's something that I had discovered many, many years ago, that a lot of people were always saying time equals money. But I always had a problem with that. I didn't really know why until one day I connected a dot in my head and felt that time does not equal money. The real issue is time plus money equals lifestyle. And it's not time that we're after. It's not money that we're after. It's what time plus money gives us, which is the lifestyle. Okay? Now, I've got a definition of lifestyle that I came up for myself years ago that I've shared with people when I talk, and it's being able to do what you want, when you want, where you want, with who you want, and how you want without worrying about time or money. Now, the great thing about that definition to me, and I hope you'll feel this way too, is if people lived their life this way, we would be of more and greater service to each other. Because to be able to do this, see, I have to be of service to other people so that I do have money in a shorter period of time so that I can have more lifestyle to where I can do what I want, when I want, with who I want, where I want, and how I want without worrying about the time or money factor. Okay? So if you wish, you could, write that out in your hand and just have that to where you can see it. Let's talk about HTV. Now, this is not some new kind of television that has come out. It is actually your hourly time value. And it's something that sometimes people haven't thought of it this way, so I decided I was going to share it with you tonight. HTV, hourly time value, equals your annual income divided by 50 weeks. Now, I realize there's 52 weeks in a year, but we're going to give you the standard 2-week vacation for our math purposes. So annual income divided by 50 weeks divided by a 40-hour work week. Now, your goal may not be to work 40 hours. That's fine. Your goal may be to work 10 hours or 20 hours or whatever you decide. The nice thing about lifestyle is you get to decide. But you do have to decide. So what this formula does, HTV, it asks the question, what is your time worth? What could be your time worth? And the important thing going through this process is to understand that time is your life and it's passing by. You can't save it. Time is only spent. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a $50 hourly time value. Your HTV is $50. So HTV equals $100,000 a year divided by 50 weeks divided by 40 hours equals the $50. So the HTV is $50 per hour. Or another quick way to do this that I always just do in my head is you can take that $100,000 and move the decimal point to the left by 3 places, so that gives you 100, and then you divide by 2, and that's going to give you the same $50 hourly time value. So that's a shortcut. Or you can calculate it the other direction also. Your HTV times 2 times 1,000 equals an annual income. So if you were making $50 an hour, or if you wanted to, times 2 times 1,000 is going to give that annual income of $100,000. So what would it be if you were at $100 an hour? $100 an hour times 2 times 1,000 is $200,000. Okay? So that's some simple math to help you calculate this HTV. Now let me bring up this LEQ, the Lifestyle Efficiency Quotient. The formula is LEQ, is your HTV divided by other person's HTV. For instance, if your HTV was $50 an hour, And we know that equates to $100,000 a year, right? And somebody else's HTV was $25 an hour. And we know from the math that $25 an hour equals $50,000 a year. Okay? So you're making more dollars per hour for the time invested than this other person. If this ratio is 2 to 1 or higher, it becomes an obvious choice to pay that person to do the task that you need done, as long as the quality is good and it's delivered on time and it's done in a positive manner. All those kind of three things come into it also. So what we're looking to do is see how much we can make per time period, and we're going to measure it in the hour here to give some value to that hour of time, and compare that to what we could buy other people's products and services and time for. And if it's a ratio of 2 to 1 as just a ballpark estimate, you should seriously think about outsourcing, especially work that you're not good at, especially work that you just don't like at all. Farm that out, outsource that to somebody who does like to do the work and who's good at the work and can get efficiently it done in a quick time and delivered to you. So that's what LEQ is all about, is that quotient. Also, sometimes, you can just leave that slide where it is, but as an afterthought to LEQ, sometimes you're going to pay people more than you make. In other words, their LEQ is going to be higher than yours, and that's okay, because to get to where you want to go, you may need somebody who has more HTV, hourly time value than yourself. That's on your journey up to that point, and it may be for some kind of specialty work that you need done, or some kind of advice from an expert and input. And the reason you would want to do that is because their knowledge and their service and their product could quicken the pace to where you can get up to that level also. So that's why you would want to do that, and that would be considered on your part an investment in your future. Now, I think you need to make that decision wisely and to think about it and make sure you're not chasing, shiny buttons and magic bullets and easy buttons and stuff like this. Now, let's put it all together. Strategic is in the realm of the following: decision-making, planning, managing, reviewing, adjusting. Decision-making, planning, managing, reviewing, and adjusting as time goes by. And what this allows us to do is what we call incremental improvement. Little by little, we keep getting better and better. It doesn't all happen all at once. Sometimes you have breakthroughs. You work on something for a long time, and all of a sudden, it finally happens. And those things happen, but more often than not, it's just discipline of doing it, following a baby step, master plan, strategically thinking it out, coming up with the how-tos, the what-to-dos in a tactical plan, and just working the plan. And then making sure that you're still on track. It's kind of like, taking a road trip. You know where you're at, you know where you want to go, you got a map, and you start driving along, and you want to follow the map. And if all of a sudden you miss a turn, going off on one road or the other, you'll find yourself 20, 25 miles down the road in the wrong direction. Well, we need to make an adjustment. We need to review, right? So we'll have to come back and get back on our track and follow our baby steps to our destination. So think in those terms. I'm pretty simple-minded when it comes to this kind of stuff, okay? Both sets of grandparents were farmers. Spent a lot of time hearing my grandfathers, talk simple works, and the complex, a lot of times, isn't what it's cracked up to be, and a lot of times whoever's selling the complex stuff is just spinning it around and presenting shiny buttons to you. So watch out for that. Okay, on the strategic level, decision making. Now, some of you have heard a song that I wrote many years ago, and some of you actually have heard me try to sing that song every once in a while. And part of that song has some of these little bullet points in it. So decision making, first I decide what I want to happen. And you remember a short time ago in the talk tonight, that was one of the first things I said you have to do. You actually have to decide what you want to happen and why. That reason why. Because that reason why becomes your driving motivation. And you need to ask yourself, as you go toward this reason why, are all the activities that you're doing, or is the time that you're spending, are the dollars that you're investing getting you closer to that goal? If it's not, you need to make some adjustments. So you always are mindful of this. Here's what I want to happen. Here's my big reason why I want it to happen. And then ask that question, is what I'm doing now with my time, money, and energy actually getting me toward that goal or pulling me sideways or backward and away from that goal? And if that second scenario is the case, then you need to make adjustments and get back with the plan and get on track again. Then we get into tactical planning with the phrase, then I plan my way. And we have to come up with the tasks to do, like a to-do list. I think it's important that you order them in some kind of a priority so that the most important things will get done. You want to make sure that things get done. You want to timeline them and set deadlines. Make sure that you've set deadlines and live up to them. Push to get those deadlines done. And decide who's going to do the to-dos. Then the next step is we've got to take action on your plans, which in the song is, then I take the very first step. And sometimes that's the hardest, because now we've got a big picture, strategic plan. We've got all the tactical things in place, all the baby steps to get there. We've made decisions on the timeline, who's going to do it, what we're going to do, to-do list and everything like that. And now, oh my gosh, you look at it, it's like, well, this looks huge. Well, the only thing you can do is take that very first step. And you take a step, and then you check and make sure that you still got all your fingers and toes. Look around. I'm still standing. And then once you realize that it's okay, feel good about it. Now, if you take a step and you step in a puddle, then maybe you took a wrong step there, and you need to back step just a little bit and adjust now. So we're going to take a step, we're going to take an action, and we're going to review the results that we got. If it's the results that we were after, congratulations, you're ready to go to the next step. If the result that you got is not what you expected, then you need to make an adjustment and try out that new adjustment. Now, this is very much like the scientific method that we learned in 8th grade. They may be teaching it earlier, but somewhere along the line in education, you were introduced to the scientific method, and this is all this is. We come up with a hypothesis and experiment, and we take a step, and here's our steps. We measure our results, and then we compare, and then we adjust, and we do the experiment all over again. And we just keep experimenting all of our way till we finally get to the goal. And each step of the way, we get better and better and better at it through what we call incremental improvements. And it's so very, very important to keep going. I know we can get discouraged and we can get distracted, but we've got to keep the end goal in mind and make that decision of, is what I'm doing right now the best use of my time, money, and energy to help me reach that goal for myself and my family. So we want to keep going. We want to take another step every day. Okay? Now, the other things that we want to learn is that as we do these steps, we are going to make mistakes. But the other lesson of the song is learn from mistakes so that we don't make those mistakes again. Mistakes are very, very expensive. By the way, the best way to learn by mistakes is learn by other people's mistakes. That's my preference of learning from mistakes. I like to watch people and how they're approaching things, and I learn what to do from them, but sometimes, more importantly, I learn what not to do by watching them. Because if I can, see that somebody has made a mistake and they didn't come up with the right solution, and they tried something and maybe, unfortunately, it cost them a lot of time, money, energy, I want to know what that mistake was in that situation or scenario so that I hopefully won't do that, so that I don't include that in my strategic and tactical plans. So learn from the mistakes of others. Next, we want to be persistent. Never, never, never give up. You've already put a lot of thought into the strategic and tactical plan in whatever part of life. See, you've actually made decisions. See, that's the problem, is people don't make decisions. Therefore, it's easy to give up because they've never decided to do anything in the first place. They just keep bouncing around. But see, now you've actually made a decision of what you want. You've actually given yourself a reason why you want to get there with your motivating factors of why you're going to get up and do it every day, in and out, to do, never give up, shorter deadlines, the whole thing, learn from mistakes, and you keep going, and you don't give up. However, don't beat your head against the wall. If something doesn't work, rethink it and make adjustments, and then come back and never give up. Take that next step. Okay. And the next lesson is complete the project. Finish what you start. Get to be known as someone who is a finisher, not just a starter. It is so easy to start things because you just take a step in some direction. Unfortunately, most people just start a lot of different things because they haven't really decided what they want. They've just decided that they want something different than what they have now. Okay, that's not the decision that you've got to come up with. That's a good first decision. That's called inspirational dissatisfaction, if you would like to write that down. Okay, being frustrated with your current position in life, situation in life, and that motivates you enough to take action towards something else is called inspirational dissatisfaction. Now, I didn't dream that up. I picked that up somewhere along the way. But I think that's a terrific term because that is going to inspire you to do something else than what you're doing now because you're feeling some kind of pain, some kind of frustration, or you're wanting more for you and your family and your lifestyle. Okay? Be a finisher. Be known as a finisher. And the end of the song is one step at a time, makes all my dreams come true. One step at a time, it works for me and you. How about we open it up for Q&A?
One of the things when you talked about so many things here, and I wrote down some notes and some questions too, and some comments really. The one thing about the big reason why was you said was thinking big enough. You got to think big enough.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that a guy a long time ago taught me was to ask, and then what? Once I came up with the thing I thought I wanted to do and accomplish, then I asked the question, and then what? What happens when that's accomplished? And if it's something I know how to do or it's something that is just really a worthy goal, not really a big dream, it comes out that way. The big thing that you talked about is how important strategy was in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to reiterate that, and I ask you to dive into that a little bit deeper, because I think people think strategy is not really the thing, but in truth, in my world, it's always the thing that you got to come back to. You agree?
100%. And strategy, see, it's this thing. It's hard for people to get their hands on or their mind wrapped around. And I think some of the things that I talked about there, the forest of the trees, the chess player, the chess pieces. The other thing is it's your roadmap. And what was it, Alice in Wonderland? They asked somebody, where you want to go, and they said, well, anywhere, or anywhere I'll get, any road will take you there then.
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually decide where you want to go, then you need some kind of a map, a strategy to get there. That is the simplest way to probably explain it to people. And if you don't have that roadmap, you're going to go on your road trip and put the keys in the vehicle, and there you go, and who knows where you're going to end up. Now, I kind of enjoy those kind of road trips, but that's a decision to do it that way.
Sure.
But if I actually want to get to a destination that I have declared, I had better, follow a roadmap to get there efficiently if that's what I'm trying to do.
So in the case of the road trip where you're just wandering, it really is your strategy is to have an adventure.
That's right. That's exactly right. I made it a conscious decision that I was going to have a road trip adventure, and that I was not concerned about how far I was going to be at what o'clock, in the afternoon, or which roads I was going to take. I had an experience a couple months ago where I was coming back from a conference, and we just decided, to take the back roads, the old country roads. And a lot of people know Joe Marsh. Joe Marsh was traveling with me back to Florida, and we got talking about all kinds of different things and got all twisted around, turned around, and we got completely, lost.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how lost are we going to get, right? I mean, the sun still sets in the west and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't very hard to, backtrack our way around. But it was actually fun. See, as a kid, me and my buddy Jerome, as a kid I grew up with, Jerome lived like behind the house and two houses down or something like that. Jerome and I would hop on our bicycles in the morning and just ride. Mm-hmm. And what we wanted to do is go get lost and then try to figure our way back. Mm-hmm. And that was a game that we played. Mm-hmm. Now, you wouldn't dare want to know that your kid did that these days. But years and years ago, it didn't seem like that was a big deal. Now, I don't know that my mom ever knew that we did this. Thankfully, we didn't get in trouble or get hurt or anything like that. Right. But that was an activity that we enjoyed. Now, but that doesn't get us to specifically where we want to go. If we were playing a baseball game, we had to be there for 9 o'clock because the game was going to start, and we had to go from home to the ballpark. So we decided, and then you make things happen.
So let's talk about big dreams and when they're too big or too small. If you're making $30,000 a year and your big dream is I'm going to make $30 million a year, that's something that's really difficult to believe in my mind. It may be something you can accomplish, but very rarely does that happen. So it seems to me that you have to build these little success muscles sometimes by accomplishing smaller goals. Do you have any?
Let me talk to that a little bit because
good.
I never like to limit anybody's thinking.
Right.
Okay, that's one of my rules in myself. I try to do that with myself. It's always easier working with somebody else. Your own problems are always harder to solve. But in like coaching people and working with people, I never want to be the person that says, "Oh, you'll never be able to do that," because it's just not good to do to somebody. And I've seen people time and time again overcome all kinds of obstacles and accomplish what they set out to do. Who am I to say that they can't do it? Okay? And the other thing that I learned from myself is, there's a whole lot of people out there in the world who are happy to tell me, no, you can't do that, Mark. You'll never be able to do that.
Right.
That I decided consciously that I would not be the person to tell me that I couldn't do that. Okay, so we've got to, ourselves, we have to make believe. We've got to make that belief happen. Okay, now, to answer your question, 30,000 to 30 million, we look at that, oh my gosh, this person couldn't possibly do that. Well, there's something that the person at $30,000, they're looking at life a certain way, right? Mm-hmm. And the person who's making $30 million a year is looking at life as a $30 million person would. Mm-hmm. So there's some kind of difference there. So one of the things to do is study, and I said that before, well, what is it that a $30 million a year person does to generate that kind of income? And there are clues. There's footsteps that you'll be able to see if you bother to think about this and become aware of those things. Now, it's not going to all of a sudden click happen. The person at 30,000 is going to have to say, okay, at whatever time period, let's say 20 years from now, I want to go for, somebody's in their early 20s, and at age 40, they want to be making $30 million a year. If that's what they want, then here's how you make it happen. You set the goal of $30 million a year, and you study those people who have done that, and then you make believe, where do I have to be 10 years from now to be in a position to make $30 million 10 years thereafter? And then where do I need to be 5 years from now to hit the 10-year goal? Where do I have to be 3 years to hit the 5, 2 years to hit the 3, 1 year to hit the 2? Where do I need to be 6 months from now to get to the 1-year goal? And you just make believe. You create your own baby steps the best you possibly can, but you become aware of, at each of those stepping stones, what kind of activities are people that make that kind of money in that kind of time, what are they doing that's different than me? What can I see? What kind of patterns can I discover? What kind of recipes are they using? What kind of clues can I pick up on how to think, act, spend my time, associate people with? Are they selfish about themselves, or are they trying to provide goods and service to other people? Typically, if you're going to make money, where does the money come from? Well, it comes from other people that you have provided products or services to. So that's what I said earlier. I've never had a computer whip out a credit card and pay me. So I'm going to have to get good at giving other people what they want. And, of course, Zig Ziglar tells us what? That if you give enough people what they want, you'll get everything that you want. And it's a very, very simple formula that Zig told the world, I don't know how many decades ago, but it sure makes a lot of sense to me. How about you?
And exactly what you said is what I thought, because what you're talking about is incremental success along the way that builds confidence that you're going to achieve it. And that you
That's
can.
right. Yeah. That's the interesting thing about the confidence, too, is that, at the point where you start, you don't have the confidence, and you probably don't have the competence to earn $30 million a year. You just don't have the knowledge and wisdom and experience to pull off that kind of an income stream, or to have the resources to produce or serve enough people to generate that income. So it's a incremental process. The interesting thing that's happened in my life, and as I teach this to more and more people, I see it happening time and time again, is we'll set we'll expand our thinking and dream a little bit big, and we'll set a time frame like 20 years on something. I mean, a big deal, like a lifetime goal that they can envision 20 years from now that I want to do that. And they baby step it back, 10, 5, 3, 2, 1, 6 months, 3 months. This month, what can I do today to hit all, that first goal, baby step to the next week, the next month, and on. Okay. invariably, what happens is that big goal gets accomplished a lot sooner than you imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why. In my heart of hearts, I believe this. It's because by doing that strategic plan and coming up with the tactical baby steps to get there, even if you had to make believe them, you just told your subconscious mind what you wanted. You made a decision, and you gave it an action plan, and you told it, I want to accomplish that. And the cool thing about the subconscious mind is it will do anything that you tell it to do.
Mm-hmm.
Good news, bad news, nothing. It'll do nothing real well, too. But you have to manage your own subconscious mind. And once you tell that subconscious mind that, okay, here's the plan, that subconscious mind works 365 a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, endlessly, toward whatever goals that you put to it. Now, if it starts helping you accomplish that, and the amazing thing is, it will attract things to you, it will attract people to you, it will attract opportunities to you. And it's because our subconscious mind, I believe, communicates to other people too.
Mm-hmm.
Now this gets a little heady, and people that don't understand this, they may have a hard time believing it, but it's only because they haven't experienced it. And they have to make believe that what I tell them is absolutely true, and I will assure them that it is, if only they will use this tool called the subconscious mind that they have been given. And it's a shame that people don't use it in the manner that I've just spoken, because it will help you achieve your goals, and you'll be surprised at the opportunities that come into your life, the situations, the people that come into your life, and how everything will start lining up if you will kind of get out of your way. And David and you and I have talked about this over the last few years. Just kind of get out of the way and just paddle.
Mm-hmm.
Quit trying to steer. Come up with a plan. Let the subconscious mind deal with all this stuff that maybe you can't figure out, and all of a sudden little ideas will pop up to you, right? Has anybody ever had that? You got a thought, you didn't know where it came from? Guess what? Your subconscious mind is sending you suggestions, and the worst thing you can do is not pay attention and act on those suggestions that your subconscious mind gives you. Because what happens if you ignore them, the subconscious mind says, I guess he wasn't really serious about getting that goal. Here I was been working on it, 24/7 for the last month. I came up with an answer, and I gave it to him, and he ignored me. And then it just goes back and says, well, I guess I'm not serious about hitting that goal. I'll just go back to sleep. So be careful, be careful, be careful with this terrific tool, the greatest success tool that has ever been given us is right there for our use, and most people just never tap into it.
What advice would you have for those who have analysis paralysis and just can't seem to choose among several very good choices and move forward for fear of making a mistake and going down the wrong path?
Okay. That's a really good question, and Ben Franklin had a really good answer for it. And Ben and I go way back. Ben Franklin was a hero of mine. I consider him a mentor of mine, as a matter of fact. Now, we lived in different centuries, but that doesn't mean that that he can't be a mentor of mine, through his writings and these kind of things and thoughts. Ben Franklin had, the thing where you basically make a list of all the reasons why to do something and all the reasons why not to do something, and kind of total them up and get them out of your head. See, this is the problem that we have as humans. We try to do a lot of this thinking in our head, and we take pride on how logically we are and how good of thinkers we are, but the subconscious mind is so much stronger. What we really need to be doing is getting our thoughts out on paper in front of us or out on a screen. Some people use, mind map technology on computer software, I just take out a pen and paper and just start drawing stuff and putting words and connecting arrows and dots and stuff like that, and scribbling and doodling, and that gets the creative process going. But Ben's thing was to list everything in columns. Okay, so you would have 3 or 4 or 5 things that you're considering. Well, make a grid, and on each one of those, it's going to have 2 columns. And you're going to say, okay, these are the possibilities with this one, the potentials. Here's the downsides as I see them. What kind of resources do I need for each one of these things? See, these are all decisions. It's research and being aware of what's involved in each of these 4 or 5 different ways that you could go. The other question to ask yourself is, are you really interested in that topic, or are you just doing it for the money? If you're just doing it for the money, nothing wrong with money, okay? I'm capitalist at heart. But if you're only doing it for the money at the beginning where there's no money coming in, that's not going to be very fun to get out of bed in the morning and go in there and just, knock your head against the wall until money starts happening. Mm-hmm. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, I don't agree with people that say, oh, you just need to follow your heart. Okay, because here's the reason why, is that when we just follow our heart, you're not being a good marketer. You're just being into what you're into. Now, if you're wanting to make money, you have to be of service to other people. So we want to make sure that whatever you're into, that you're following your heart, that there's a good amount of other people who are also into the same thing. But here's the magic question. Are they willing to pay for products and services in that area of activity of their life? If they're not willing to pay for that, then everybody is just following their heart. And following your heart is perfect. It's fine. It's fun to do, but it may not make you money. Don't be confused between the two. Now, you'll find that some things that you just love to do, activities that you love, there's a lot of people that love it too, and they do spend money, and they like to spend money over and over and over again on that particular activity. That's a really good one to be involved in. But just be careful about the follow your heart, because it just may be that there's not that many people that want to pay for it, or they're hard to find and they're hard to contact. There's all kinds of variables like that. So just be careful about the follow your heart things.